Hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. This right here is a T-Mobile G5AR gateway. This is one of their newest ones, just came out here in like September time frame of 2025. And it actually has some upgrades over the older G4AR that looks a lot like this, or the older black gateways that are out there. But the main problem with it is it has no external antenna ports. And if you've watched my channel or just read around online, you'll see a lot of people are adding antennas to their gateways to get better signal. This right here is one such antenna. This one is a Waveform Quad Pro. I've tested many other antennas out there. I am partial to the Waveform ones because of the quality and the testing that they do. And in fact, I'm going to use their website to help me out on this G5AR of just how to connect to it. Now, I do know a little secret about it, and that's that it has 8 ports in there for the antenna. So it's actually capable of an 8x8 MIMO setup, which means you need, or to get the best use out of it, you need 8 ports connected to it, which would be 2 of these Quad Pros or Quad Minis or whatever 4x4 antenna you get. You really want to have 2 of them so you have an 8x8 setup. So first we got to get this thing apart and get access to it so we can connect our U.FL pigtails, so then we can then screw these into it. So these are the U.FL pigtails that I'm talking about, and what these have on the big side is a SMA connector, which is kind of one of the standard connectors for a lot of the antennas out there. And then the other side, which is little teeny, you can barely see it, that is a U.FL connector that goes on the circuit board that's inside here. So we can connect these to that, and then hopefully we can see if it changes or improves the signal quality of it. I've had great success on the G4AR, the Sagem-Com, even the older Nokia one. So I'm hopeful, but this is going to be a new adventure here with 8x8 setup. Alright, so full disclosure, Waveform did send me another Quad Pro so I could have an 8x8 setup, but they're not paying me for this video. This is stuff that I'm doing to help the viewers out, and then of course you can use my 5% off Waveform coupon, which is code NADERTATER, and that'll save you money on anything that you buy from Waveform on there. So for this one, I've gone to their website, and then they have a section in there for guides, and then you can scroll, and as you can see here, they have a lot of different gateways, and this is all what Waveform does. So one of the reasons why I like to feature them is the amount of research they're doing. This means that they've taken all these things apart and have looked at them. At least I think almost all of them take apart. Maybe some they do research without having to actually buy them, but a lot of them I think they buy, they take them apart, and they test them themselves, and then they provide these guides for the users, which help us out as a customer base. So anyways, up here, the top is one of these G5AR antenna guides, and they go through here and they go step by step and show you in pictures at least of what to do. So I'm just going to follow this. Now they tell you a little bit about antennas and how they work, and that's good to read if you haven't done that before. But I'm going to go down here to the actual installing part. They tell me I need a Phillips screwdriver, I need a Torx T10, and then a plastic pry tool, and then you'll need the pigtails that I'm talking about. And so I'm assuming, well, I mean, you can always buy 2 4x4 kits, the Quad Pros. They might even offer a 8x8 setup here if there's demand for it. I would assume, maybe save a little bit of money versus buying 2 separate kits. And then you need some tape for securing it, and then something to keep them. So I'm just going to follow through here and put a video out here so that you can see actually walking through these steps of what to do. But I'm going to follow the guide here from Waveform. Okay, so I have this little Husky precision screwdriver set that I just have. It's cheap and easy. But what we're going to do here is on the bottom of it, I think there is some tape, our little warranty seal that you have to pop. But in here underneath the feet is the T10 Torx that you just unscrew out of there. So there's 2 of them, one on each leg. Make those guys fall out, keep your screws safe. Alright, now I have some pry tools you can use. If you don't care about scratching it up, you can use a screwdriver. If you do want to try to keep it from getting scratched up, use a plastic pry tool of some sort, even something like a plastic knife, like a reusable knife. So there you can see that was actually pretty easy, that I was able to pry that down, and this just kind of pops this front cover off here, and we can now take this out. So if you look at the way that this is designed, you know, you need to pry this front cover down, because that gets hooked in with these little hooks here. So that was actually easier than I thought it would be to pop off that front cover here, and you can see that those screws is what actually held it in, and so allowed it to come off there fairly easily. Alright, so now the next step is to take out the 4 screws that hold the black piece, or the center board, all into the outer housing. So for that, it's this guy here. We'll take that one out. And then this deep hole here, we got to get down into there and find that one. And there's another one down in this hole here. If I can find it. And the last one is over here on the left side. Alright, so I'll see if I can point that out here for you. So that right here, here, and then inside that hole there, and inside this hole in here, they're all a Torx 10. Alright, so now that cover comes off just like that. Put these screws over here to the side. Alright, so now I'm going to release these clips along the side of here. This will allow me to separate the side and the back. So I got that side, get this side. Here it goes. Alright, so that just releases that outer from the back side, and that gives you easy access to then take these U.FL connectors. And like I said, you want to take all 8 of them. I just have 4 right now in my hand, and sneak them through this net here. And so the point of this is you want to have the SMA connected on the outside of the case, and then you need these connectors on the inside of the case. So that's the point of doing this setup here. Okay, so I got all 8 of mine tucked in there now. Alright, so now we can put this side cover back on, and of course we want to make sure we don't pinch the wires, but they're going to snake through that little hole or the slot that's up there. It looks like you got to put this down kind of evenly top to bottom, because it will catch here on these little lips. There it goes. Alright, so now that's all snapped in. Make sure your little tabs are pressed in, and that should be good to go. Make sure these guys are fully in here. Alright, so now we want to remove the heat sink from the board. So that's these 4 Phillips screwdriver on the 4 corners of it. We'll get that one later. Okay. There's that screw. Okay, so I'm just popping up the heat sink there so that it's loose, and then I can grab it here. Looks like it gets kind of stuck. Yeah, it's kind of like stuck down there. I assume it has a paste underneath it. We want to lift it up, but we don't want to hurt this GPS antenna here, so I'm going to just tilt it. I don't want to have to mess with the GPS antenna. But yeah, okay, so there's this paste that's there. Ideally you don't touch that a lot because that's the thermal paste, so I'm going to set this aside and not have anything touch that stuff. But you can see all of our wires now, and those are the antenna wires, and I can look and try to see the different names of these guys. Okay, so luckily they have these all called out and labeled, but basically we want to remove all of them here. At the top should be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So the red one is GPS, so that one doesn't get disconnected, but these other ones get disconnected, and then they tell us the numbering to put. So we want to put those numbers on the U.FL connectors on the SMA side, so we know when we're outside of the gateway what order we're going to hook up the external antenna to. So the order does matter, so that's something to make sure you pay attention to. And then I would say the technique I've learned that works best with the U.FL connectors is to pull them straight up and down. So you don't want to put any side load on them or twist them. You want to kind of try to pull them straight up and down to prevent them from getting damaged. They're very small connectors. If you're rough with them, you're very likely to break off the connector pin on the board itself, so be careful with that. Now before I get too far, I always do take pictures of this kind of stuff just so you can document how it went together, and then hopefully if you need to put it back together you can do that without damaging anything. Okay, so I know it's kind of hard to see with my fat fingers in the way, but just pull all those up, and then I'm going to tape them off so they don't get any shorts. Okay, so I got my electrical tape here now. What you're trying to protect is not actually the antenna leads here, the U.FL connectors, from touching another U.FL connector. You're really trying to protect them from touching two pins or areas on the board and shorting that out. So you can tape them together however you want to do it, but you just want to cover up the metal part of the U.FL connectors so that they don't touch the board. So, and then we're just going to kind of tuck them over to the side so that they're up and out of the way, and they're not going to interfere with any of our new pigtails that are coming in here. Alright, so that's how I'm going to do it. Just tuck them back there, and now I need to start adding in these. Okay, so I'm going to sneak all these through together here. Definitely lots of different ways you could sneak these in here. I'm going to try putting them through this biggest hole here that I can find, because that will be the easiest. Okay, and then I'll worry about which order they're in later. I'm just going to start getting them connected, and then I'll be able to kind of tug on each one and figure out where it's at. So if I start over here on this far side, again, the key to this is the little connector, you want to have it to be squared to grid. So you want it to be flat. You don't want to put it on sideways or at an angle. You want to get it lined up. You can kind of feel when the little circle gets aligned, and then you should be able to press down on it. Sometimes I find it's helpful for me to be able to line it up and see it, and then use the screwdriver head to actually do the press down. There we go. Get these lined up. Right, so it is a little bit annoying on this because it has this paste that on mine at least, it kind of overflows a little bit into the area of the connector. So I want to obviously keep these out of that. I don't want to catch any of that and just put it in the connector, because then it won't make a good contact. Alright, so I can visually see and kind of feel when the circle gets aligned between the pigtail and the board, and then I use my screwdriver head to go right in the middle of where that circle is so I can press straight down on it and I can feel it clip on, and then it should be able to rotate easily when it's clipped on and not come off. So again, it's really about being patient and just lining stuff up. You want to kind of get it, you know, you feel for it very softly first, and then once I kind of can tell, then I go on top of it and I press down. And if I press down hard, or if I start to press down and it's not going, then I try to rearrange it and check it, and then I'll press down again. But you shouldn't have to use a ton of force to make them clip on. There we go. By the 8th one, you'll get pretty good at it, and then you're all done. Alright, so I just took my hand and I grabbed one of these wires and then I pulled on it, and I, found out which wire it was, looked at that port configuration, compared it to the waveform labeling, and then I just added little name tags onto the SMA side so I know where they are. So now I should be set there. Maybe if you do that, double check, make sure that they're all pressed down and they wiggle without popping off, and then you should be good to put your heatsink back on. Okay, so that's all tightened back down. Alright, so now the heat sink is what goes face down. Now, so we have to take this guy and kind of rotate it and get it into here. So we get this down there, kind of sneak these SMA connectors again. They're not very strong of a connector, so you don't want to tug on those by any means. But now we want to get this board back into here so it's down in there, and then again protect your SMA connectors there so that they are not pulling on stuff and they're not caught. Now we just install these screws here. Don't forget the two ones that are deep down inside these recessed pockets. It's going to be a little hard without a magnetic tool to get those to stay. Alright, I think for me, since my tool's not magnetic, I'm going to have to probably hold this upright. Okay, so that felt a little bit like playing the little game Operation as a kid, trying to keep that going in there without falling off. But I would recommend a magnetic T10 if you can get one, so otherwise you're going to have a heck of a time getting these things in there, unless you're doing like I do, and either put it upside down. Oh, I lost it. Okay, I get to play the game of shake out the screws. Okay, so that actually worked for me to hold it upside down and just get it in there. That's not my preferred method, but if you get a magnetic T10, that would be the way to go. I got that connected back up now. Alright, so now we can take this front cover, pop that on, slide it up. Maybe I'll just use a pry tool to kind of slide it up. There it goes. It just snaps into place. Now we can put those final two screws in the bottom of this unit through the rubber feet holes. Okay, so that was it. It really wasn't that hard. I would say maybe it took me 30 minutes total to take it all apart and put it together, and that includes going and getting different supplies upstairs that I needed. Okay, so there it is. It has the 8 pigtails coming out of that now, ready to hook up to the antenna. And overall, it really wasn't that bad. I actually think it came apart a little bit easier than some of the other gateways that their clips seem to be tougher, and it feels like they're easier to break than these. These ones came apart fairly easily. And if you have any questions about, like, the warranty seal that you have to pop, I would say don't be. There are definitely laws in the U.S. that you're allowed to take things apart, and T-Mobile's policy is you can't modify the gateway or break it, and yes, you have to give this gateway back to them. Truthfully, I think if you have it for more than 2 years, they normally don't ask for it back, actually, from what I found. If you cancel the service before then, they'll ask for it back. They might charge you up to $400 if you don't return it. So, or if you break the device, and they can tell that you broke it by taking it apart, then yeah, they're probably going to charge you for it. So you do take it apart at your own risk, but everything that I did here or showed you is all reversible. So I can take this back apart without breaking anything. I can take the pigtails back off, and I can put the stock antennas connections back on, and nothing is broken or damaged. So just take your time with it. I would say it only took probably about 30 minutes of being careful and doing the filming with it. So give yourself 30 minutes, be careful, step by step, and it's actually pretty straightforward to follow that. So next is to actually put the external antennas out there. All right, so here's the antenna again, and these are all labeled on the cables 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically the way that they told us to label these connectors here. So this Quad Pro, it has their flex mount, which is really nice because it has a lot of adjustability left and right. Allows you to connect to a pole or to a flat surface. I'm not going to go into all the details of how you aim that. In fact, their instruction booklet here that's in full color, not only does it give you their contact information, but it goes through kind of a step-by-step process of how you should go out and test this device. And then, if you have trouble, you can reach out to them, and they do help you out. But the key thing there is probably looking online and finding out where your tower is at. And I have other videos that go into details of that. I'll put those links in the video description below. But if you buy their kit, then they include things like this window entry cable. This gets your cables from inside to outside through like a window sill, where you open the window up, you put this thin ribbon cable, and then you close the window back. Or it can even go out a door or some other slot that you have a nice thin access to. And then this side can be on the outside. You can sticky it to the outside, or you can put screw holes in it. And same thing for the inside. This gives you the connection there. So this is an easy way to get from inside to outside, and that comes with their kit. And then they have the cable, which is a nice bundle of cable. So you have the 4 connectors, but then on the main part of the cable, they're all tied together in a single unit there. So this comes in 10-foot or 20-foot lengths, and you could put 30 feet by putting a 20 and 10 together or whatnot. But the one thing I will say about cabling is you do want to keep it as short as possible, because every foot of cable that you add is going to hurt your signal loss. So as the signal goes through the cable, it loses strength. So try to use the shortest that you can, and then you do want to have the same cable length, I want to say, for both antennas. So you don't want to have one be like a 40-foot length and one be a 10-foot length. I think you want the same length as well.